Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Esther Gilbert, nutritional physiologist, and I have been researching botanicals for many decades now, and I'm an author, botanical researcher, and I'm here to inform the public about how their own nutritional physiology works and all the different aspects and all the different things one must know to put it all together to have truly vibrant health in this day and age. So this video today is about the blood-brain barrier and the kinds of nutrients that can enter the blood-brain barrier and do a lot of the cellular repair work and the detoxification and to just improve the overall functioning of the brain and the nervous system, and to also help prevent a lot of these neurodegenerative diseases. So what I'd like to do is show you what I've called up tonight for what I want to show you for the blood-brain barrier. So this is pretty much kind of a fly-by-night kind of really quick. I didn't prepare anything formally, so I'm just going to click around and show you what I've come up with as far as the nutrients go, and they all tend to they all match what I've already researched and written about in my book, Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. So in that book, I have 109 botanicals in it, and I've done extensive scientific research for each of the botanicals in the book. And so a lot of the botanicals that we eat, a lot of the medicinal botanicals that are used as natural medicines throughout the world, they all contain all these different phytochemical compounds that are found in this plant kingdom. So there's been an exorbitant amount, innumerable amount of studies done on not just the botanicals on this planet that are good for us, but also their phytochemical compounds that are so important for our health. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the types of phytonutrients that the brain does indeed absorb through that blood-brain barrier, that very specific, very distinguishing barrier before anything can enter into the brain. Okay, so I'm calling up some images just of the blood-brain barrier just so we get an idea of what exactly it is that's going on in the brain. What exactly is the blood-brain barrier anyhow, people ask. So that question came up. So I'd like to just kind of delve into that just a little bit, just for the fun of it, just so that you get an idea of the things that you need to do to protect your brain, and also the wonderful phytonutrients in so many plant foods that we want to put in our bodies to nourish us and also to protect us. So this picture here, it shows the blood vessel coming through. You know, when we eat, we digest, and then the body reduces these giant food molecules down to the basic nutrient components that our bodies use to generate new cells and new tissues and structures, new proteins, and just overall general maintenance of the body. So this particular blow up of a blood vessel that is going into the brain, and as you can see, the brain cells have many structures that protect what goes into the brain. So all of these different structures that surround the blood vessel are this tightly knit network of tissues that just don't allow just anything to enter the brain. So, you know, as we click around, I can show you different pictures. Here's another kind of a larger rendition of what you just saw. So again, here is the blood vessel, and it's got the membranes and the different types of cells. This one is the endothelial cell structure that surrounds the blood vessels. And then there's these other structures that hold the nerves in place. And so you've got all these different types of structures there. And then you have on this outside area is the brain tissue. So it has to go through an awful lot to get to the brain. And along the way, there are some distinguishing cell receptor sites that read the information coming in and decides whether to allow these substances to come into the brain at all. Okay, and the nutrients that have been found to enter the blood-brain barrier actually do the protection and cell maintenance and optimal functioning for the brain. All right, so here's another picture of the neurons, coming that are in the brain, and then again the blood vessels coming in through, entering the brain, and whatever gets absorbed through those cell membranes and allows into the brain matter is what the body determines is safe for and good for the brain. Okay, so yeah, I can click around and just show you all these different photographs that are on the internet. I just did a search on blood-brain barrier and came up with all these images. So yeah, and this one is kind of a different rendition where it shows just the shape of the blood vessel, coming in, and all the tissues surrounding it and all the nerve networks around it. And then on the outside is the brain tissue. So we've got the nerves and the different types of cells that are related to the nerve cell itself, just for the optimal functioning of the brain. Okay, so I want to make sure that I am sharing. It looks like I am sharing. I want to make sure you saw that. Yes. Okay. Also, I need to plug in my laptop. One moment. I'm going to put this video on pause here and see if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that right now. I knew I should have brought my cord over here. I've got to go run and get it. Okay, one moment, please. Okay, so some of you might be thinking, how unprofessional of her to not make sure her laptop is not plugged in all the way, and 99% of the time it is. So I thought I had it fully charged when I brought it over here, but when you get on the computer, sometimes time goes by very fast, and so more time goes by than you realize, and then your laptop requires recharging. Anyhow, I apologize for that. So let's go on and do this. When you do things live, you're not going to have, cut, retake kind of thing. And yeah, I could go in and just eliminate that segment, but it's kind of fun, when you see people who in real life, in real time, what can happen when someone is producing a video. So anyway, enough of that. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next tab that I opened up for people, for all of you. And this just explains a little bit about the science that's been going on about the blood-brain barrier. And so there's so much research out there, literally thousands of articles, scientific studies have been done, reviews, peer-reviewed studies, all sorts of things going on. But you can see that this is that same photograph. And then it just talks a little bit about what it is. It says the brain is walled off from the rest of the body by the blood-brain barrier. This tightly packed mix of cells sits between the blood vessels that lead to the brain and the brain tissue itself. The blood-brain barrier helps protect the brain from threats like infection, but it can also stop helpful medications from getting to the brain when needed. Researchers know that the blood-brain barrier isn't perfect. For example, cancer cells can sometimes get past it and establish metastatic tumors once from other locations in the brain. If scientists could better understand how cancer cells accomplish this crossing, they might be able to develop methods to prevent it. Many cells, including cancer cells, release tiny sacs called extracellular vesicles, which can affect other cells by transferring proteins and genetic material into them. Extracellular vesicles, also from here on out referred to in this study as EVs. EVs from tumors, for example, can enter the circulation and after distant organs to make them more susceptible to metastatic cancer because of their ability to alter cells. EVs are being studied as potential therapeutics for cancer and other diseases. Okay, so that's just a brief, just I wanted to read just to familiarize people with what the blood-brain barrier looks like. It's been a long day. I think I'm tired. I think that's why I'm stammering a little bit. You'll have to excuse me, but I really wanted to get this done and get this shared to the person that I promised to today. Okay, so then I'll go on to the next tab. So here's another study that explains that phenolic compounds that cross the blood-brain barrier exert positive health effects as central nervous system antioxidants. So phenolic compounds are present in many different foods. In my book, I'm going to call my book up now, and we'll do a search on phenolic compounds just for the heck of it. The name of my book, this is the transcript from my computer, but you can purchase the book at Amazon. It's called Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. And so I'll go into what's in the book later, but right now let's look up polyphenols. Okay, so this is page 269, and there I get 63 results. So that's going to take us through the book, and it's going to show you all the different botanicals that contain polyphenols and the scientific results and research that has been done to show what polyphenols do for the body. And rather than go through every single one of these 63 pages, I'll just stop at a couple of botanicals that are in the book, and then I'll go on to the phytochemical database that's in the book that will explain a little bit more about what polyphenols are. They're basically these biochemical compounds that plants form in their normal growth and development, and also from nutrient-rich soils, getting the sunlight that they need and the type of water. I mean, it just it takes a lot of a healthy environment for a plant to grow and be so nutrient-rich. So studies have found that when plants are grown organically or in a permaculture food forest, regenerative environments, these soils are much more alive and nutrient-rich. And so it's been found that plants that are grown, or foods that have been grown in those environments, are higher in these phytonutrient compounds. And polyphenols is just one of many, many classes of the different types of phytonutrients that have been named and discovered in plants. So a lot is not given out to the public about what phytonutrient compounds are and what they do, but yet there is years and years and hundreds and thousands of scientific studies and thousands of scientific journals that report them as to how beneficial they are for the body. So know that they, the brain is very picky about the types of molecules it will allow in through that blood-brain barrier and to allow it to benefit the brain and the nervous system functions. Okay, so let's do a search on the polyphenols. And this is the format that I used, like the German Commission e-monograph, so I'm calling these the monographs. And this happens to land on the burdock, which is a part of the Easy Tea formulation that has been very world famous for many, many decades. Okay, so the burdock root is usually used, and that's a picture of the burdock. And so I came across some research about the polyphenols in this particular plant, effective as antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agents. The studies have been shown in both in vitro and in vivo, which means laboratory cell cultures and also in live subjects. All right, so we'll jump to the next one, and it looks like the cherry contains polyphenols. Now, polyphenols, like I said, is just one of many, many classifications of these wonderful phytochemical compounds that are found in our plant kingdom. All right, so let's see, the chives have polyphenols in them also. And we have cilantro. So many health benefits of cilantro. As you can see, I summarize, many studies. The peer-reviewed studies are the most credible because that's where expert panelists have gathered all of the research that's available in the world, in all of the the scientific databases of the world. And so when they do these peer-reviewed studies, they're gathering the best and most credible research on these botanicals. So, this is a summarization of all of that research, and that's that I put together in this book. All right, so then we can go on to other botanicals too. We've got the coffee bean. In this case, the green coffee bean, which is much more nutritious and much more helpful, than the roasted, fully matured coffee bean. All right, so then we've got other ones like the black currant. I mean, this is only the 9th search result out of 63. But what I'd like to do is jump to the phytochemical database. So I'm just going to jump through, and you can kind of, just see all the different botanicals that contain polyphenols. Okay, so then we can go all the way to, I'm just going to jump to page 63 because this is getting crazy, right? Oops, where I jumped too far here. Okay, yeah, polyphenols. Oh, I see. Okay, so I have to go back to table of contents here. And these are all the botanicals that are in the book. Okay, so chapter 8 on page 252 is where the phytochemical database is. So let's go to chapter 8 here. All right, here we go. So chapter 8 lists the major classifications and all of this, many of the sub-classifications. I couldn't possibly list all of them because there are over 25,000 of them, but in this database there are, several hundred. So I stayed with the major and the sub-classifications of the major classifications just to give people an idea of the health benefits of all these different types of phytonutrient classifications. Okay. So, so let's go to the, we can go through all of them, alkaloids, and those sub-classifications. The anthocyanidins, many of you have probably heard of these because they're used in the supplements industry, pretty commonly in a lot of the supplements. So, as you go through the book, you can look at the classification of the carotenoids. Carotenoids are many subclassifications like those astaxanthin, beta-carotene, lutein, lycopene, zeaxanthin. Those are all very commonly used ingredients in nutritional supplements. But, it'll give you a rendition of what these phytochemicals do and the foods that are found that contain these different wonderful phytochemicals, Okay, so yeah, let's get back to what we were doing here. Phenolics, yeah, phenolics. Let's jump to phenolics. I'll just do a quick search. A quick search here on the phenolics. It'll take you back to. So then, there's 40 of these. So there's so many different plants that have the phenolics. And you'll see if you get the book that the phenolics and all these different flavonoids and all these different types of phytochemical compounds are in many of these plants in the plant kingdom. Some of them have their own unique sets of phytochemical compounds, some of them even rare, but many of them have many common antioxidants in them. Okay, so I guess we can just go back to chapter 8. So phenolics, it's a good thing I put everything in alphabetical order. It's much easier to find. Right, so lignans. Well, I mean, you can see all the different types of phytochemicals that are in plants, and this is just, you know, skimming the top of the most common compounds in them. Okay, so this is a list of all of the polyphenols, also called phenolics. We've got the class of anthocyanins and their subclasses, the anthocyaninogens, their subclasses, the cholesterol coumarins, and the dihydroflavanols and flavonoids. Those are very common in plants too. And the flavonoids have been known also to cross the blood-brain barrier as well. And the body will change molecules and you know, just arrange the molecular structures so that it generates different subcompounds that the brain specifically can use versus the compounds that all the other cells in the body utilize. So then we've got all of the lignans and the phenolic acids, the stilbenes, the tannins, the xanthones. Xanthones are pretty rare, and they only occur in certain plants in numbers too. The Garcinia mangostana family, for instance, which is also known as the mangosteen. So yeah, we've got all these different phytochemical compounds that can cross the blood-brain barrier. Okay, so let's put that away for a little while. So in this one, in this study, I'll read you a little bit of that. It says the blood-brain barrier, or the BBB, is a physical structure whose main function is to strictly regulate access to circulating compounds into the central nervous system, or the CNS. Vegetable-derived phenolic compounds have been widely studied with numerous epidemiologic and interventional studies confirming their health-related bioactivities across multiple cells, organs, and models. Phenolics are non-essential xenobiotics and should theoretically be unable to cross the BBB. The present work summarizes current experimental evidence that reveals that not only are phenolic compounds able to cross the BBB and bioaccumulate in the brain, but there is some stereoselectivity which suggests the presence of specific transporters that allow them to reach the brain. Some molecules cross the BBB intact, while others do so only after being biotransformed or metabolized elsewhere. Once inside the CNS, they prevent or counter oxidative stress, which maintains the molecular, cellular, structural, and functional integrity of the brain, and subsequently overall human health. So that pretty much confirms what I just said, just off the cuff, you know, just out of the brain. But yeah, so there is a lot of research, like I said, on what the brain allows into the brain. A lot of these are animal studies. This little diagram is, shows this little mouse, you know, but the rodents supposedly are a very good way to show how things work in the human body as well, since apparently their metabolisms are very similar to ours. All right, so let's go on to the next tab. This is, like I said, I got this one from the National Library of Medicine, the PubMed Central, and so this particular journal is what reported this particular study, and this is a review. And so apparently this journal is called the Pharmacognosy Review. So it reviews all the different studies that have ever been done on certain subjects. You know, in this case, the title of this study or review study is the neuroprotective potential of phytochemicals. So I'm just going to read you the abstract, because if you go in, as you can see as I scroll down here, this is a typical research article that is allowed into different scientific journals. So it's always in this format that the scientists present as a report as to what they found in their scientific research. So this is an accumulation of many different types of, many researchers that have done research on the BBB and the neuroprotective potential of phytochemicals. So in this particular one, I'll just read you the abstract. Cognitive dysfunction is a major health problem in the 21st century. And many neuropsychiatric disorders and neurodegenerative disorders such as schizophrenia, depression, Alzheimer's disease, dementia, cerebrovascular impairment, seizure disorders, head injury, and Parkinsonism can be severely functionally debilitating in nature. In the course of time, a number of neurotransmitters and signaling molecules have been identified which have been considered as therapeutic targets. Conventional as well as newer molecules have been tried against these targets. Phytochemicals from medicinal plants play a vital role in maintaining the brain's chemical balance by influencing the function of receptors from the major inhibitory neurotransmitters. And they're talking about the receptor sites at the brain cell sites. In traditional practice of medicine, several plants have been reported to treat cognitive disorders. In this review paper, we attempt to throw some light on the use of medicinal herbs to treat cognitive disorders. In this review, we briefly deal with some medicinal herbs focusing on their neuroprotective active phytochemical substances like fatty acids, phenols, alkaloids, flavonoids, saponins, terpenes, etc. And by etc., I just showed you my database in my book. As you can see, there are many, phytochemical compounds that are in the plants, and so they're just examining a few of them. The research of neurons to various stressors by activating specific signal transduction pathways and transcription factors are also discussed. It was observed in the review that a number of herbal medicines used in Ayurvedic practices as well as Chinese medicines contain multiple compounds and phytochemicals that may have a neuroprotective effect which may prove beneficial in different neuropsychiatric and neurodegenerative disorders. Now notice how this is reported. It may, and it may, and it may. But once you have a review, especially over a long period of time, then you can drop the may, because you can word it in a different way, saying researchers have found many common conclusions on these phytochemicals. So it can be worded different ways, but in the scientific community, especially in a review, then they're very neutral, and so they use the word may as if it hasn't been proven yet. But these very studies show that it has indeed been very solidly indicated. Okay, that's another way of putting it. All right, so it says, though the presence of receptors or transporters, and this is, like I said, the receptor sites that rest on the cell membranes, for polyphenols or other phytochemicals of the herbal preparations in brain tissues remains to be ascertained. Compounds with multiple targets appear as a potential and promising class of therapeutics for the treatment of diseases with the multifactorial etiology. All right, so that's pretty much in layperson's terms what this report is about. Okay, so like I said, they've taken many different studies and condensed them into this review. So a peer-reviewed study is the most credible information that one can have in this world, because these studies are taken from all over the world. So a typical review like this has an introduction where it explains what exactly, the physiology description of what they've studied. And so if you want to look this up, it's called Neuroprotective Potential of Phytochemicals. And, I'll just put the links in the description box underneath the video. Okay. All right. So, and then they explain nootropics. Sorry, it is late and I am very tired. I need to go to bed now, but I really want to get this out. So nootropics is a term used by proponents of smart drugs to describe medical drugs and nutritional supplements that have a positive effect on brain function. So nootropic is derived from the Greek and means acting on the mind. All right, so I'm not going to read out this whole entire, very comprehensive review, but just so you know what the researchers have found. And you can tell by these little numbers here, if you click on those, or just run your mouse or finger over it, you can see, you know, who did the research on this particular statement. So apparently, same researchers were quoted down here as well. So yeah, throughout this whole review, you'll see, you know, where they're getting this review information from. So, you know, you can click on any one of these and go into this deep dive, you know, get lost in the labyrinth of scientific studies to learn all about the things that are great for the brain and prevent a lot of these neurodegenerative diseases. So ginkgo biloba is one of the nutrients, one of the botanicals. Panax ginseng, you know, I have all these in my book, by the way, and very extensively researched and laid out in these comprehensive monographs in that book. So yeah, I mean, in the book, of course, I just cited all of these scientific studies. So there are hundreds of scientific citations, you know, that will take the reader back if they want to explore more about what scientists have found on specific botanicals that are in the book. So anyway, this is just one, and it's great because they summarize what scientists have found in a nice table. This happens to be on the nootropic herbs. I usually don't have trouble pronouncing that term. I don't know why I am right now, other than sleepy. Okay, so anyway, then it goes into phenolic compounds, the phenols, and you saw that when I went over the phytonutrient database in the book, the flavonoids as well. And so the brain utilizes all of these wonderful biochemicals that are in these plants. Once the body digests the plants, then they're broken down into very basic components, very basic molecules that the cell membranes will allow entry into you know, the different areas of the body. But normally they arrive through the bloodstream, because once you digest your food, once it's in the digestive system and it's broken down, then it enters the cells in the lower and the small intestine. So all of your nutrient absorption occurs in the small intestine, enters the bloodstream, circulates throughout the body, and when they arrive at the brain site, blood vessels, then that's where the real, you know, decisions are made as to what is allowed in the brain. So it's all determined by what the DNA instructions in every cell will allow. And at the brain sites, then we've got a lot of these receptor sites that only allow certain molecules in. Also, they examined the terpenoids and saponins, fatty acids, the different types of beneficial fats, namely the monounsaturated fatty acids and the polyunsaturated fatty acids. So, you know, you've got to have both plant fats, different types of plant fats, as you see here, and you have to have the animal-derived fats in your diet as well. So 50-50 split between plant fats and animal fats are extremely important for correct cell structures, correct neurotransmission, correct forming of the 10,000 or more hormones that regulate, start and stop different bodily processes all over the system. So yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on in the human body that people don't realize. But, you know, just take in a full range nutrient diet every single day and your body will go to work and prevent all of these horrible, you know, nutrient deficient diseases, degenerative diseases. So if you don't give your body the right nutrients, then your cells will begin to degenerate. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's the brain or, you know, your eyelashes, your hair growth, your nails won't grow. I mean, there's just so many different things that happen when there are chronic nutrient deficiencies. But the brain is the highest priority in the system, and the heart, of course, and the kidneys, the vital organs. So it's very, very important that you nourish the brain, at least, you know, so that you don't succumb to these horrifying degenerative diseases that are so common in our population. But I have found over the 45 years in teaching people about their own nutritional physiology and, you know, compiling individualized nutritional healing protocols for people, lo and behold, they get well. You know, it doesn't matter what the ailment is, a simple one or a much progressed problem, then the body will go to work and start reversing the damages. It just needs the right molecules, the right substances, the right nutrients. All right, so this is, I can go on, I just show you very quickly how they just distinguish what these scientists have found. And as you can see, there are all the other studies that they pulled this information to summarize from. So yeah, little numbers here. So this is an example of what a very credible scientific review looks like and how they summarize everything for people to see. So these are the different phytochemicals. These are the scientific names of the plants and what action they had on the brain, neurotransmitter receptor and the action. And so yeah, if you're in the medical industry, then you can say the words treatment right now. So there's a lot of words that the medical industrial complex has coveted, and people who use these terms can get into trouble and be accused of practicing medicine without a license and all that kind of thing. But in this case, they did use the word treatment, and so they were showing how the research has found that these problems have been corrected or improved by ingesting these foods that contain these compounds. And they always wrap it up with a conclusion in layperson's terms and all of that. So yeah, I mean, it can get pretty technical when you see these individual studies, because they have to just really follow very strict guidelines as to how they're going to prove if what they're trying to prove, if a plant, it does indeed have any kind of health benefits, kind of thing. So, oh, what the heck, I'll take you on one of these. Let's just go to number 48 here, and we'll just take a look at it. Let's take a look at what this particular one. So this group of scientists, this is not a peer-reviewed study, this is an individual study, decided to look at the compound called curcumin, in the plant turmeric. So they studied what happens in the brain when a person consumes the turmeric phytochemical called curcumin and all of that. So yeah, it can get pretty intense when you do a deep dive on the scientific research. But I love it. I mean, I'm one of those, I guess, very few people have that much interest in diving this deep into how the human body works. I just, the years of college didn't teach me nearly what I have learned in the years of reading these scientific articles. So you really get to understand how the body works and how the body utilizes nutrients. Okay, so one more article, the blood-brain barrier, an engineering perspective. So as you can see, I look at only the scientific research. When I do my searches on any botanical or any health issue, I always type in the phrase science journal after my search term, so that it bypasses all of the layperson's misinformation kind of articles that are on the internet, companies that post some kind of a scientific statement in their marketing materials, and then they want to sell you their products and make the consumer believe that their products will actually, do what this science research has said, kind of thing. So you have to be very careful when you look for your own research, when you look at, when you want to learn something and make a decision about your health. So in this particular article, it's called The Blood-Brain Barrier, an Engineering Perspective. And it just talks a little bit about the history, but then in this next section, they really, again, they explain what the BBB is. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and read this to you. The BBB is the interface between the vascular system and the brain, and hence we begin by reviewing the architecture of the brain vasculature. So that's what this is all about. They're going to examine what the physiology of the blood-brain barrier is all about. So they go on to say that the brain is comprised of about 100 billion neurons and consumes about 15 to 20 watts of power. The metabolic nutrients that supply the power are oxygen and glucose. So without this kind of blood sugar, the basic unit of sugar, the body breaks down carbohydrates and it ends up as glucose to fuel the cells, particularly in the brain as well. So everything is fueled. All the cellular activities at the microcell level is fueled by glucose and oxygen. So they're just telling you that the basic power supply for the body, including the brain, is oxygen and glucose. Of course, we cannot survive more than a couple of minutes without oxygen, right? Okay, so the brain, along with the liver and the gastrointestinal tract, are the most energy expensive organs in the human body. Overall, the brain accounts for 15 to 20% of the base metabolic rate, or the BMR, consuming 15 to 20% of oxygen leaving the heart and 15 to 20% of the glucose consumed daily. Since the brain does not have significant capacity to store metabolic nutrients, fuel to power the brain is provided on demand by the lungs and the gastrointestinal system, which transfer oxygen and glucose, respectively, to the vascular system, or the blood vessels. Therefore, the role of the vascular system is crucial in delivering nutrients necessary to maintain normal brain function. Interruption of cerebral blood flow very quickly results in neuronal death or nerve death. After cardiac arrest, apoptosis of neurons begins almost immediately. Apoptosis refers to the self-destruction. And brain damage occurs after about 5 minutes. Most of the energy consumed by the adenosine triphosphate, or the ATP unit of energy molecule that the cells use to fuel when there's a high amount of oxygen present, like in aerobic exercise. Most of the energy consumed by ATP hydrolysis in the brain is used by neurons for generating nerve impulses. The cerebral metabolic rate, or CMR, for ATP utilization in the human brain is about 9.5 micromoles in gray matter and about 3 micromoles in white matter. Therefore, about 77% of the brain's energy consumption is in cortical gray matter, which represents about 50% of the brain volume. The gray matter consists of neurons, dendrites, unmyelinated axons, glial cells, and capillaries, whereas white matter is mostly myelinated axons, glial cells, and capillaries. Myelinated meaning the fatty acid coating that surrounds the nerve cells to protect them and to ensure their proper transmission of electrical impulses, okay, for the nerve cell to nerve cell communication throughout the body. Okay, that's why fatty acids are so important in the diet. So, animal fats and plant fats are so important for the maintenance of the brain and the nervous system, among other things. All right, so that's all I'm going to read about that. But I will post these links, at the bottom of the video, and that way you can just read to your heart's content, and learn all about the blood-brain barrier. But yeah, not everything crosses that blood-brain barrier. Some drugs do, and not all forms of molecules, will go through there. It has to be a specific type of molecule that the body actually can repurpose in order for it to be the correct specific molecule that will enter the brain. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to show you tonight on the blood-brain barrier. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a little dry. Some of my videos are kind of dry, because you can't get away from the science when you talk about the human body. But the more you do it, the more you understand it, and the more fascinating it becomes and the more interesting. So anyway, if you would like to purchase my book, I'll go to my website right now and I'll show you where it is. So holisticchoices.com is the website. Books by Mary Esther. You click on that on the left side. and it takes you to the page of the books that I've published so far. There's more in the works. These two here, for example, are about to be published. The Nutritional Synergy System has a different cover on it now. I just have to update the website. Once I have pictures of the book covers, then I'll be able to put them on the website here. But the one that I've been looking into tonight is called Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. It's gotten 100% 5-star reviews on Amazon, so it's a very, very informative book if you want to know all about the botanicals and which botanicals you want to pick to improve your state of health and to manage your health and to prevent disease, reverse the aging process, things like that. So, all the health benefits and all the benefits you get from having this book. You can order the printed copy from Amazon, or you can order the ebook version from Amazon as well. I like people to go through my website to order the book so that they can see what else is in here. I have a lot of good stuff on my website. Also, if you go to my YouTube channel, I'm easy to find. Just type my name into the search box, Mary Esther Gilbert. And so, I just started producing a lot of videos, and the number of subscribers are coming up. So this is great. I have life-saving information, and I'm sharing this to as many people as possible. If you like what you see here, please like and share and subscribe to the channel. Just click the subscription button and click the subscribe button and the share button if you know of someone who could benefit from this life-saving information, and also hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of any new videos that are being produced. I've been producing a video every couple of weeks consistently lately, so hopefully I'll keep doing that. I'm actually doing more of a deep dive in 10 of the botanicals that are in that book. So I'll go through the monographs in 10 botanicals just to get people familiarized with the book. So yeah, please just explore what I have to offer here, and your health will improve. I mean, if you take to heart everything that I'm teaching here, then your health is bound to improve. It's just the laws of physics. If you apply the right nutrients to your body will become optimally healthy. There's just no getting around it. Okay, again, my name is Mary Esther Gilbert. Thanks for joining me here, and hope to see you soon. Bye.